Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Good evening and welcome to the December 10th edition of Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson, your host for tonight, and my co-host, Dr. Rhonda Lawson, will be on the show about midway. She had a couple of obligations tonight, so she will be joining us very soon. So what I wanted to talk about a little bit was just hope you all's holiday season is going well. Mine is, I love Christmas time and it's a wonderful time of year. So I'm hoping that yours is going well also. And I'm looking online and I can't, let me see. I'm making sure. Yeah, okay. Everything's like it should be. I wanted to make sure because normally Rhonda does it kind of online looking and then I check it occasionally, but when she's not on, then I have to check it. I do want to let people know that the National Black Book Festival photos from this year, we've been posting them for the last month or so, and they're on our Instagram and Facebook pages. You get to see the authors who attended and some other activities. We had some, group shots, still shots, customers, a panoramic of the floor, the way everything was set up, featured author photos. So we'll be posting for at least another month because we had about 300 or 400 photos to go through, and we have to put the names with the faces. So we're still in the process of doing that, but we are posting them. If you're an author who had an author table, and when your photos post, you get an email that they posted, and you also get the photos attached to the email, so you can have them yourself. So anyway, we have a great show again tonight, and we are excited about our lineup. Everybody's new as far as guests on the show, except the first guest. And the first guest is Angela Jackson Brown. She has been on the show, I believe this is her third time, because she's been on the show for each of her last 3 books, including her latest book, which is titled Untethered. And so we welcome back Angela Jackson Brown to Black Authors Matter TV.
Hello, how are you?
Doing great. And congratulations on the release of your new book. You have a copy of it, okay, Untethered. And you have a tab in there, so you have some things that you found or a place that you want to read from. Is that where you
that's just where I have it marked where I do when I do my reading, so I don't have to hunt. So yes.
Okay. All right. Now your book came out recently. What day? What was it? Last
December
Tuesday?
3rd. Mm-hmm. December 3rd.
So it was last Tuesday. We try to get people on the release date, but it's not always possible because a lot of times on the release date they have a jam-packed schedule, which I'm sure you do too. What did you do on your book release date?
I did a book signing on December 3rd at a bookstore here in Bloomington, Indiana, where I live and teach. So I was at Morgenstern Books. Then the following night, I was at Loudmouth Books, a Black-owned bookstore in Indianapolis, Indiana. Tomorrow night, I'll be in Louisville, Kentucky. And then for most of the latter part of January and most of February, I'll be touring in Alabama where the book is set.
Oh, okay. Wow. Well, it sounds like you. Now, I think, did you post a picture of you at Loudmouth Books?
I did.
Okay, because I saw that.
Yes.
I saw the photo of you there. So that's great. Well, you like the historical fiction lane. That's where you've been. Are all of your books historical fiction?
So far. Everything I've written so far has been historical fiction. The book I'm working on now is fantasy. So I am actually trying my hand at something that I've not done before. I sort of drew inspiration from Octavia Butler's last book, Fledgling. So I'm writing about a group of African American vampires.
Okay. Yeah, I read Fledgling. I read several of Octavia's books, not all of them, but Kindred, of course. Uh,
Yes.
Fledgling was the last one, I think, and I can't remember. She had several books that had seed in the title, and I can't remember all the titles, but I read some of those.
Yeah, she had I think there
Wild
was one called
Seed.
Maybe Earth Seed, Wild Seed. That may have been it. I know she, Parable of the Sower, Parable of the
Okay,
Talents.
right. Okay, I read those. I read the Parable book. So yeah,
Yeah,
she was a great writer, and it would be great if we could get some more from her, but she's gone to another plane. Yeah, and
absolutely.
Nikki Giovanni passed away. That was the year she came
Yes.
out, and that
Yeah,
was
that gutted a lot of us
yeah,
today, and because we're seeing our elders move out of here. They're going on to the next plane. So it really means that, those of us that are still here, we have to do the due diligence because they paved the way. Now it's our turn to step up.
yeah. I agree with you on that. And that was I saw it. The NACP Image Awards posted it this afternoon.
Yeah.
Because I follow their page, and that was where I first saw it. So,
Yeah, so many of my friends knew her firsthand. I met her twice, but I didn't meet her in a substantive way. It was just I was at an event where she was speaking and I got to go up and say hello. But yeah, I have a lot of people in my timeline and friends that are struggling really, really hard today because from everything I gather, she was a very giving spirit. She was the kind of person who was willing to mentor a lot of the up and coming younger poets. So yeah, a lot of people are hurting today.
yeah, and she had a very long career of, poetry. She from the 60s, I think, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. That's
Yeah, she was 81, I believe, or 82, 81, 82, something like that. And I think she started very early in her life as a poet. So, yeah, she had a long career. And I hope those that are sad today can quickly um, take heart that she's still with us because she left
yeah,
us with such an
a body of
amazing
work.
body of work
Mhm.
that we don't ever have to not have her voice in our heads because she left us with her work and that's what any author can say. If you can be in a position where your work lives on after you leave here, that's a blessing.
Right. And we've said this on the show. That's the thing about being an author. Your work can outlive you. People can be
Absolutely.
reading your work for years in the future when you're not here physically anymore. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, tell us about Untethered, and is it connected to your other books? Now, Homework was your last book, and I read um it was The Light Breaks, or
Yeah, the light always breaks.
The Light
No,
Always Breaks. Okay.
Untethered is completely different in terms that it's not connected to any of my previous work. It's set in an actual place, Troy, Alabama, where I went to college. And it's about a Black woman, Kasha Daniels, who is set in 1967. She is the executive director for the Pike County Group Home for Negro Boys, and it's about the relationship that she has with these young boys as a motherly figure, but it's also about just at the struggles it in being a woman, but more specifically a Black woman who is everything and all things for everyone and often gets left sort of in the dust when it comes to her own self-care. So Kasha's the kind of person that gives to everybody and never really feels validated. She took care of her mother when her father passed away and her twin brothers. And when the book begins, her brothers are missing in action in Vietnam. And we get to see her again trying to help her family cope with these boys being missing in action. There is a love story in the book. She meets a young man that was her high school crush, and he also fought in the war and comes home injured. And we get to see her try to figure out how to make love fit in her action-packed life of so many responsibilities.
Oh, okay. Now, where'd the title come from? Untethered. And your last two books had one word titles.
Yeah, this was a collaborative process in terms of the title. I say I'm not very good at coming up with titles for my book. The only book that I titled was my very first book, Drinking from a Bitter Cup. So this
Mhm.
book had a different title when I was working on it. And so my agent and my editor and I sort of went back and forth with titles. And Untethered was part of a, I think like a 2 or 3 word title. And I just sort of focused in on that word and thought, untethered. I like that. I like the idea of sort of releasing oneself of the sense of obligation to be all things to all people. My character likens herself physically to Nina Simone. She cuts off all her hair to be short like Nina Simone's. She loves listening to Nina Simone's music. And she really sees her as just this free spirit in terms of an artist, someone that she wishes she could be more like. And as the book unfolds, I think we see her getting more and more comfortable with releasing herself from being the savior for everybody.
Hmm. Even though your book is set in a historical setting, that idea of being there for everybody, like being the central uh, being that holds things together, especially with family, that is so true, especially for Black women. And so I believe a lot of people will be able to relate to your character just because, a lot of us are, kind of the glue
Oh,
that holds,
absolutely.
everything together.
I've
And
had so many Black women already who either read the book post publication or pre publication, and some that have even read it since who have said that exact same thing when I needed this book because I'm her, and I needed to see that it's okay for me to let go of some things, and that doesn't mean I'm a bad person. And I think sometimes we get tasked with taking care of everybody, whether it's
yeah,
at home, on our jobs, and we keep inching further and further down the pecking order of being taken care of. And I think sometimes the title Strong Black Woman is to our detriment. In fact, I know it is. I really have tried to resist that title because it's okay to be weak sometimes. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to
yeah,
need help and to
yeah, it's
need
okay to
support.
need, it's okay to say, you know what, I need help with this. I
Yeah,
need you to help me with X, whatever that is. And
yeah,
it's okay because, when you have everything piled on you, it affects your health, and a lot of people, it can be a lot of illnesses are stress related. And so,
absolutely.
but sometimes if we suffer in silence, people just assume that we're okay, that we can, carry all the stuff. And
Yeah,
sometimes we just have to verbalize, look, I need you to do this. I need you to, and not in a a nagging way. Just, just I need you to help me do this.
Yeah, if we let people know that we can do all things, um, then they'll keep
They'll
assuming that
expect
we
us
can
to,
do it. Yeah.
yeah, they'll expect us
If
to
if
do
you
it
can
all.
do if you can do very little with very little, do a lot with very few resources, then you don't get the resources. I was talking to some colleagues about that. I was like, we were talking about teaching overloads, and I'm like, if we continue to show people that we can teach more classes than we're required to teach, then guess what? They're going to say teach more classes. So it's okay to say no, I choose myself in this instance, and I don't choose to overwhelm myself with more responsibility than necessary. I think it was Shonda Rhimes who wrote a book called My Year of Yeses. And I thought, Chandra, why'd you put that book out there? Because what you're not also saying is that you probably have people at home to take care of cleaning your house. Maybe you even have a chef at home. You have assistants on top of assistants. It's a different thing to say your year of yes versus the single mom who's trying to do like Shonda Rhimes and do everything and say yes to everything. Sometimes we need a year of no. We need to say, and no is a complete sentence. No period. It doesn't need any additional verbiage. And it's okay to say no, I can't do that.
Yeah, it's um I started limiting my activities. If I have something I'm doing one weekend, like where it's a lot, like an event where it's going to require a lot physically, mentally, and all of that, moving stuff around, going somewhere, driving, or just it's a jam-packed weekend. The next weekend, I don't do anything. I don't do that anymore. I don't have back-to-back weekend stuff because it's just too much.
Right.
And
Right.
so, you have to get to a point where you can, like you say, just say, no, I can't do that because I've already got something, an obligation, and you do. And the obligation is you
To
may,
myself.
yeah, yeah, you may be at home, but you need
Yeah.
the rest,
Yes.
you know.
And I've gotten to the point now, Gwen, I don't even I don't even give people all of that. I mean, like if it's a close friend or a family member or something, I might provide them with an explanation. But I've gotten to the point now where I really do accept that no is a complete sentence. And I'll just say, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that. That's it. You
Yeah,
don't
well, I
have to
don't
know
give them an
all the
explanation.
reasons.
I just tell them I have a commitment already, which is true. I have a commitment to myself.
Yeah.
I can't do it all. And sometimes it might seem like I'm doing it all. That's some people, they see that you're doing a lot of stuff and they just think you just want to be doing a whole bunch of stuff. And yes, I do have a lot. Like this show is a commitment. And so
Hmm.
it's every Tuesday, it's 2 hours, but it's more than the 2 hours because
It
it's the
is.
planning, it's the booking, it's the after, it's all of that. And so I don't that I have to limit what I obligate myself to now. And then I need time for myself. I'm behind on my book reading because I don't have as much free time as I want. And then a lot of times when I get to it, when I sit down, I'm sleepy. It's the end of
Yes.
the day. I've already done it. I've worked. I've cooked. I've eaten. I sat down. Watch a little TV, and then by then, if I'm gonna read, it's time. It's I'm sleepy, so I have to get enough hours of that in before I just fall asleep. Sometimes, a lot of times, I fall asleep reading a book, and I read books, so I'll have the book in my hand and it drops on the floor a couple of times. That means, okay, I need to
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah.
So, but we have to do it and not feel guilty about it because
Exactly.
all these people that need us, we need to be around if they're going to continue to need us.
Exactly. And
Good
and
health.
and and that's exactly where I was trying to go with this book to be able to illustrate that we are better when we do put ourselves first.
Yes.
I can't remember who it was. Someone was talking about her family life, and she said, I put God first, I put myself second, I put my husband third, and I put my children fourth. And I was thinking to myself, wow, that's interesting because she said, if I put myself right after God, then that means I've got a better me to give to everybody else. But if I'm putting them ahead of me, then all I have left are crumbs. And I thought, wow, that's really deep. I hadn't really thought about it that way because in my mind, it's always about putting everything before me, putting my children before me, putting my husband's needs as much as I can before my own. And so the thought of reversing that and saying, no, I got to pour into myself and then I have something to pour into you.
Yeah, that I, I hadn't heard it verbalized like that, but that's more or less what I do. And I don't have any small children, so I have my daughter is 28 years old, and I have stepchildren, and they're way older than that. So, you know, but you're right. If you're not taking care of you, you can't take care of other people. That's
Sure
just the way
can.
it is. You can't. And so, um, and a lot of people depend on the mother, who's the glue. So, Angela Anderson, who's watching the show, she said, "Hello, Untethered is a 10."
Thank
She said,
you.
"This
Thank
book
you.
is so good. I am talking wow factor book hangover good." I hadn't heard about a book hangover. So
I've not heard that either, but I like it.
so so for those out there who are watching the show, get your copy of Untethered, because I have Angela's last three books I know. So I just haven't ordered this one yet, but I'm putting it on my order list
Oh,
as
thank you. Thank
tonight
you.
as we speak, as soon as I get done. And Shaniqua Dupree says, "Good evening. Yes, prioritize." It's so important, and it's so easy to do the opposite of what you were talking about. I know my mother, she never put herself, she never did it in that order. And
Mm,
she ended up having so much stress that it affected her health. And she passed before her time to me. She was
yeah.
72, but she was so stressed because she always put herself last, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. My mother didn't make it to her 70s and she had cancer, but I truly believe that a large part of her ongoing health issues were related to stress. I think stress can bring on a lot of things.
Oh, it can. What
Not just the obvious. We think of heart disease, we think of stroke, but any disease that invades our body, it has to have the ability to do so. And so if we're in a stress state, it opens us up for all sorts of possibilities of ill health. So
Right, it does. And so then she had hypertension, which led to kidney failure. A lot of people don't realize if you have hypertension that's not treated, and hers was treated, but they couldn't get it
get it
down,
under control.
under control enough, and it affected her kidneys. So then she had kidney failure. She was on dialysis. And
Mm,
dialysis is not a long-term solution to
no.
anything. You need a new kidney pretty, within a couple of years. And she didn't get a kidney. And I would have given her my kidney, but I had hypertension. As a result of I never had a high blood pressure reading all my life through my pregnancy. But
Mm.
after I had a C-section, I guess it was a surgery. I've had hypertension ever since. I'm on meds been
Oh,
since then, since my daughter's 28. So it triggered something. Even during
yeah.
my pregnancy, my blood pressure was like 110 over 70. It was wonderful, but
Mm.
it just triggered something, and I was on it. But but it's good. It's been good on meds, and I, take my meds. And I have heard about people, and I believe in homeopathic um, approaches to most things. Um, can be treated that way or controlled, but the people I know that have controlled their blood pressure without meds went vegan. And I'm a good cook and I like food too much to do that. All the good stuff.
Yeah.
So, I love, and I'm not a big eater, but I love good food. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
I'm,
I'm a Southerner through and through, and so
yeah,
I can go a long while without eating meat, but there's those times when my Southernness just kicks in, and I want to get in that kitchen and cook all those dishes that my daddy used to cook, and none of them are healthy. So I say to everybody, look, y'all get this once a year, then we got to work the rest of the year to get back in shape for to do it again.
yeah. Well, I've learned some self-made recipes that are healthier. Like I do meatless vegetables, like greens.
Mhm.
I don't put meat in any vegetables, and my vegetables are delicious. But I had to
About the
do the
seasoning. It's
experiment.
about the
Yeah, it's
seasoning.
about the seasoning, and I use olive oil. It's like
Hmm.
it's an active ingredient. Um, it's wonderful vegetables like that. And so now vegetarian is one thing.
Yeah,
Vegan is a whole nother thing. And
yeah,
so that's like no dairy, you know.
yeah.
And I love ice cream. Cheese. I put heavy cream. I use heavy cream to great effect. so
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
but anyway, I love the title of your book, Untethered. It gives a little like unattached. It gives, it could even be a person who's like traveling. When I think untethered, I think someone who like goes around the world and like doesn't, just not bound by
yeah,
convention or, what other people think.
yeah. Sometimes it's ourselves. We become
Yeah.
untethered to the things that we carried in our own minds about ourselves and about life. So sometimes it's just releasing that and just untethering ourselves from all of these bad thoughts and feelings and emotions.
Yeah, that's true. So, but I really do love the title. Now, what feedback besides Angela's glowing review rating, when you did your readings, how is it being received by the audience?
It's been it's been amazing. My last book event at was the book sold out. So that's a blessing in and of itself.
Mhm.
And I've just, like I said, I've been receiving a lot of positive feedback. I can barely keep up with the girlies on Instagram with their posts. They've been doing such an amazing job promoting the book and talking it up. It's so important to have people like you, Gwen, and to have the black bookstagrammers and the black TikTokers, because I'm on there, but I'm not on there as much as some. And so they are doing the labor for me, and I'm so grateful for it because they really are in a lot of ways promoting the books in a way that we just don't get in terms of the big promotions. One or two of us will get get a shout out at some of the major news sources, but more times than not, it's us talking about us, and so I'm so grateful for that.
Right. And, podcasts, and we're in a period where the information is flowing differently than it was 5 years ago. And so podcasts are really, video or audio, they've really become a source of information and escape for some people, um, a way to really tap into whatever the niche is of your interest in a meaningful way with other like-minded people. So
Mm-hmm.
we got in on it sort of as it started to take off, and we haven't stopped yet. And we've had 700 over 700 guests, not interviews, guests. So
Yeah.
you only count as one every time you're on. You don't count anymore We counted you the first time you were on. So we we keep going with it. And
Well,
we love doing
we
it.
thank you for what you're doing, Gwen. It's amazing work. And it's
Well,
not, not everybody is out here doing the kind of labor that you're doing. So we thank you for that.
well, you're welcome. And it's really helpful to have a co-host. It's helpful to have two people. Um, because you have the synergy, you have the ability to still have the show. If one person can't do, the whole show that night or whatever, we're able to still have the show. We don't have to cancel because of that. And so, and because the show is live, that it's a lot different from other shows that
Yeah.
are taped. And, we have an interactive audience. So we're able to really, make it personal. And occasionally with technology, you even have a glitch every now and then. But it's all good because when it's live, anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Well, we're actually past the end of our time. So 1 minute past. So show your book cover one more time. And
Okay.
everybody go out and get your copy of Untethered by Angela
Yeah.
Jackson Brown.
Thank you so
The great
much.
one.
Everybody have a great evening.
Okay, thanks for being on.
Okay. Good night.
Okay, good night. Okay, as I was saying at the top of the show, the other three guests for tonight have never been on the show before. So we are going to be learning about them together. Some of you all might know them. This young lady I've never met. And so I've never met her virtually. I've never met her in person. I heard about her through social media, and then we invited her to be on the show. So I don't want to mispronounce your first name. So is it Tia or Taya or Rayne?
It's
I know
Tia.
Rayne is Tia.
Yes, it's Tia.
It's Tia. Okay. All right. Well, Tia, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And you are writing a lot. Um, you haven't, well, I guess 10 years is a long time, but you said you started writing in 2014. Now, was that your first year of having a published book?
Yes, it was. I started off writing young adult and I published my first book in 2014.
Okay. And you do a lot of series,
I do, yes.
from what I could see. And you have one called Beast. Is that the latest one? Is it
Yes, Beast Part 2 is the latest. It's the last of the church series.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about just the kind of writing you like to do for the audience who doesn't know you yet. Tell us what motivated you to when you first got started, and then what kind of books do you like to produce?
Um, as far as my writing style, I write romance. And I write basically anything that comes. I don't really stick to a certain genre because I write romance in contemporary, sci-fi, paranormal, fantasy. I've written in all those genres. And I basically write IR, usually Black woman falling in love with someone. Like I said, I write. My style is I really can't explain my style. I just usually write what comes to me, what I'm feeling that at that time. Um, what motivated me to start writing? I've always been a storyteller. My mom used to say, you know how when little kids used to tell stories back in the days, I was that kid that always went above and beyond with my stories. Like I couldn't just have snuck a cookie out the cookie jar. Well, it was elves and it was something else involved. So I've always been one to tell stories, and I've always been told that I was really good at telling stories. And 2000, I had my first child like 2003, and I was a stay-at-home mom for so long, and wanted to do something else. And my husband was like, "Won't you write a story? You always telling me stories or dreams that you've had. Won't you write a story?" And that is how I sat down one day. I was like, "Okay, I'll write a story," and that's how it all started for me.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so those of you who are stay-at-home moms, that's something that you can do while you're in between all the other things you have to do if you have children, small children growing is if you can find the time in between
It's definitely about finding the time in between.
But now you folk, all of your stories IR, which is interracial romance, all of your stories.
As of right now, all of them they are IR. I will be eventually fading into, like I said, I just want to write about Black women being loved, and eventually it will be with any and all everyone. But right now, all my stories are IR.
Okay, and that seems to be a growing genre.
It is. It was once a very small genre,
Yeah,
but it's growing. I mean, it's spreading out now.
because I see a lot of covers
Mm,
that tell you that
yeah.
that's what it is. So it's and you write Black women with a love interest that
Yeah.
is not Black.
Yes. As of right now, yes.
Okay, so now what led you in that direction? Was it any
Um,
particular thing or?
No, initially it's just what I started reading. I was reading that, and the first story I told was, like I said, it was young adult, and it was really right after the whole all the other young adult stories like Twilight and all of those, and I just happened to put my lead girl was a Black girl, and she had a love interest. She had, her love interest is quite a few different characters, but I realized that more people read it. Um, when they read more of it when it was my little Black girl and the little white boy for some reason, and I thought it was peculiar. And so when I wrote my second book, I was like, okay, well, I'll do it again. But that was what I was reading at the time. Nowadays I just kind of write whatever the story kind of tells me to write. I don't really stick to a certain way, but initially it just started off because that is what when I wrote my first book, I noticed that was what everyone was enjoying, that or like that's what people were wanting at the time.
Hmm. Well, there definitely must be a market for it, because if it wasn't, people wouldn't keep writing
That's
it. I
true.
keep seeing, and most of the books that I see along those lines, a lot of them are series.
Yes, yeah. Series.
More than
Well,
one.
series are always a really good. It really helps tell a story, and people love series because they love to build up they love to build up on a story, which is why I like to do series. It's hard work to do them, but I like them.
Yeah, you have to do the next part without retelling the whole thing. You have to
Yes,
tell just enough to make it move. And I'm a writer too, so that's why
so
I
you understand.
yeah. You want to put just enough to bring the reader up to speed, but also to make it a standalone,
Yes, yes,
so that a
yes.
person can pick it up and then maybe want to go back and read the previous books. So I'm reading a comment from the previous guest because my co-host is not on yet. She had to come in late, and she normally checks the comments. And so I was scrolling up so I could get to right now, and I saw a comment about something that we said in the other. I had mentioned that I do meatless greens, and one of the viewers said she has to have meat in her greens. So that's what made me kind of laugh. It works if you know about the seasonings. If you season it right, it works. But
That's
anyway,
true. That is true.
it's all about the season. So, now did you say you had your own publishing company too?
I do. Young and Publishing. I have my own publishing company.
Okay, so you just publish your work, or do you have
Yeah,
other?
right now it's just my own work. I really just want to have my own publishing company for my stuff, for my writing,
Okay.
to make it, to have my own company and everything. I really haven't thought about publishing other authors or anything. It's a lot of work that goes into publishing because I am a self-published author. There's a lot of work that goes into publishing, and I'm not quite there yet when I want to open up and do it for other authors.
Mhm.
One day, maybe one day.
I hear you. Yeah, because that's right. That's on a whole nother level.
Yes,
That and you really had to do that full time. Now, are you writing full time?
I do. I write full time. I
Okay.
write full time. And
So
you're
how,
right, doing that, publishing others is basically a full-time job. It's hard to get your own writing in if you're
right,
publishing others.
right. It would be hard to do. So how many total books do you have?
I have 16 total books as of right now.
And what made you, like a lot of people are hesitant or skittish about self-publishing. Although nowadays a lot of people are doing it, and also some people are doing hybrids where they do some work with a bigger
Hmm.
publisher and then they self-publish too. But what made you decide to stay as a self-published author? And have you ever tried to send your work to a publisher?
I when I first started, I did send like I mean like 2014, 13ish. I started trying to send my work off to be traditionally published. And after you get about so many rejection letters, I was just like, oh, I got a little discouraged, and I thought, and then I found out that you could do it on your own, and so I started doing it on my own. And I went through the learning curve of publishing on your own because there's at the
Yeah.
time I was doing it wasn't really a guideline, like a guidebook for it. So I learned, I hit a lot of bumps and curves, and I learned a few things. And then I started doing publishing my own for a while. And then I was with a publishing company for a while, and I learned a lot with that publishing company. But we had our book deal, we finished that deal, and they released me after our book deal was done. After I gave them a certain amount of books, and I just like, I think I can do this on my own now. So I enjoy self-publishing now that I know what I'm doing because it just gives you more freedom. I think some of the pressure comes off of you when you're publishing with a publishing company because at that point all you're doing is writing. All you got to worry about doing is writing and getting your book in a deadline. But it was pressure for me because I am also, though I write full time, I am still a mother of 3 kids, and so trying to meet deadlines when you never know when a child is sick or something happens, and so it's easier for me to do it myself because I can move my things around my schedule and set my own dates, and but I think that's why I like self-publishing so much because it's more freedom for me to write and do it my own way.
Right. That's true. That's a good um, way of explaining it. Because I'm still all of my books are self-published too. I have 15. So they're all, well, a lot of them are different. I write in multiple genres. So
Oh, you do?
mhm. But it does give you the freedom to,
Hmm.
if you want to write, if you want to release 3 books in a year, you can.
Yep.
Or if you want to skip a year, you can. It's just there's no pressure. The pressure comes from your
Hmm.
personal pressure of wanting to get it done. But even if you set a timeline or a date, you can always change it.
Absolutely.
You can move
Absolutely.
it forward. You can move it forward if you get finished faster, or if you need a couple more months, you can, I mean,
Move
you
it
can
back.
go
Yeah.
backwards or forwards, whichever way you look at it. You can make it sooner or later, depending
Absolutely.
on, what your schedule is. And sometimes you can do it quicker. You do it more quickly than you thought you could. And then sometimes it takes longer. So,
Yes.
mm, I like that. So, now how old are your children?
I have my daughter turned 21 today. My oldest daughter turned 21 today. I have a 19-year-old, and then I have a 13-year-old.
Oh, okay. You got teens.
Oh, yes, yes. 2 college students and 1 middle schooler.
Okay. Well, God bless you. Because I know that it might seem like they're more work in some ways when they get older,
Oh,
but
yes.
because they have minds, of their own, and they think they know things. When they're younger, you can tell, you have more control. You can tell them,
Yes.
and they really like hang on your every word, like what you say, they really believe it. They don't start questioning things until they get maybe over 12, and then
Ooh,
that's when they start asking questions. So it's work either way, but raising another human being and helping them grow and develop into adults it's a really just an amazing assignment that we're given.
I agree.
We just do our best, and that's all we can do.
That's all we can do is, yes, do our best.
So now tell us about, do you have a copy of your book, like the Beast? You have a copy of them?
I do have a copy.
So you can show us the covers.
I wish I would have had it out so I didn't have to, but I do have a copy of it. Sorry.
Okay.
I do have a copy of it.
Oh, okay. Oh, I like that. So
it's
now
Beast Part 2.
what is it depicting exactly? I can't tell what that is.
It's just a guy in a cloaked.
Oh, okay. Okay. What's that above the word beast? What is that? Is it somebody's chest?
Yes.
Is that his chest? Okay. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Now, who you have a cover designer that does your covers?
I do. My cover designer for the church series was Hayla Rice. She does most of my covers. I love working with Hayla. I work with quite a few cover designers. She is I think she's in Australia, I want to say. Don't quote me. But so it's working with her. I love working with her, but it's always like a time delay because when she's up, I'm asleep. And so we usually have to, I'll send her a message and she'll see it and I'll wake up to her reply. So she did the entire church series and a few more of my covers as well.
Oh, okay. All right. Now, what is Beast about?
So Beast, the church series is part of this is the last book of the church series. It is basically John Wick with romance. It's a book about a group of assassins that fall in love with with women. It's action packed. It's romance. It's lots of twists and turns to the stories. And like I said, the Beast Part 2 is the ending of this the story. It is a series. They can technically be read as standalones, but the reading pleasure you'll get is reading them in order, because each book kind of plays on the other one. But in each book, the hero and the heroine gets their own happily ever after, and then the next book is another hero and heroine, and they get their happily ever after. But the stories do kind of tie together.
Okay, so is Beast a two-part?
Beast is two-part.
Two-part. So when you said the church series,
yes. So the first book in the church series is Hawk. This is the first book in the church series.
Okay. All right.
That's the very first book, and it's 5 books total in the series.
Oh, okay. So Hawk is number 1.
Hawk is number 1.
And
then there's Twins. And then there's Priest. And then there's Beast 1 and Beast 2.
Oh, wow. Do you have the other ones?
I do. I have the other ones.
You piqued my curiosity.
No problem. I wish I would have thought about it. I would have had them all ready to go for you. So we have Hawk is the first one.
Okay. All right.
Twins is the second.
Okay.
Priest is the third.
Okay. Now, Hawk and Priest aren't the same people. Are any of these people related? Are they related?
They're part of a brotherhood. Not related, but part of brotherhood.
Okay. All right. The next one.
Twins are brothers. The twins are brothers.
Okay. All right.
And then you have Beast 1.
Okay.
And Beast 2.
And Beast 2. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Well, that sounds interesting. I like the covers.
Thank you. I had those redone. They were different covers for before, and then I had them redone to these covers.
Okay, so in the church series, starting with Hawk and ending with Beast 2, what's the theme, the thread that ties them all together?
So it starts with you meet them. Hawk has resigned from the church. He was an assassin, and usually once you join the church, you are recruited in the church when you are very young, almost 8 years old. And they recruit you because they see a special talent in you. And you grow up in this church being an assassin, and you usually cannot leave. But Hawk was able to leave because a friend of his, took his position. And so Hawk book starts, but he has left the church. He's been away, but the person that took his spot has been found dead, and they are accusing Hawk of doing it. So Hawk, with the help of the persons that took his spot, sister, has to clear their name, clear his name. And so they go on this, I think it's like a week or two, maybe a week, of trying to clear his name so that the church won't come after him.
Okay, now the church, this is not like the Christian church.
No, this is
like John Wick, like you said.
This is John Wick.
I've seen 1, 2, and 3 of John Wick.
Yes.
I haven't seen 4 yet, although it's been out for a little bit, but I haven't seen it. It's a lot of killing, but it's a lot of action, and Keanu Reeves really does play that role.
Yes, he does incredible.
He's really an incredible job with that. And so it sounds interesting. Now, what you have to have an active imagination to put all that together in 5 books.
I did. It started out the first idea, the first book was the last book. Beast book is with the idea I got first. And when I was trying to write the story, it wouldn't come to me. And so finally I realized I don't think his book is first. And that's when I realized he has a brotherhood. And so all the guys, you have Hawk twins, all of them are brothers. And Priest is kind of like their father figure. He's the one that trained them. And they're basically their father figure, but they're brothers, basically. They grew up together. And so it's just that brotherhood going through trials. You realize that books tie together because people are trying to, I guess you're going to say, break the brotherhood up. And so each book is part of them finding out who's trying to come between them and in their brotherhood, until you get to Beast's book and it all answers everything.
Oh boy. Okay. So now you said these are romances. So where's the romance coming?
They are romances. So, like I said, Hawk has to clear his name, and he's doing it with the person that died, the person they accused him of killing. He's with her sister trying to clear his name. And so his love interest is her sister. And the sister, it's without giving away too much, the sister gets tied up in all of this as well. And they have to kind of and she's a middle school teacher. So all this is completely new to her. All of this is new to her. She had no idea any of this was going on. She didn't have any idea that her sister was part of this. And so when she gets caught up in this whirlwind, she is just like trying to survive.
Oh boy. Well,
yeah.
Really interesting.
But they all have their own, you meet their girls, you figure out how they tie to their girls. Each one falls for, have their own girl, and it all ends with a happily ever after.
Okay. Well, that sounds interesting. Now you write some fantasy. Is it like a fantasy paranormal romance?
So my fantasy is you said, is this like a fantasy paranormal?
Mm-hmm.
No, this is 100% contemporary. The church series is fully contemporary. There's no fantasy element to it. Although at some point you start to think maybe it is, just because of how incredible these guys are and their gifts and talents. But it's all contemporary.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. So when you started writing, did you know you were going to be where you are now in terms of, and the question I'm asking, when you wrote your first book, could you envision where you are now in terms of this 5-part series?
No, not at all. When I wrote my first book, I really didn't think anyone was going to read it. I truly thought it was just going to be something that I did and I would give to family. And like I said, and my family was like, no, you should at least attempt to publish it. And I did. And even when I first published, I mean, oh my gosh, I think maybe 5 people read that book. Seriously, I think maybe 5 people read that book. And but I just kept, because I love writing, and it didn't matter to me that only 5 people had read it. So I just kept writing, and I wrote the second one. And then after the second young adult book, I went into basically adult romance with my first fantasy series. And that's really what kind of grabbed people over to Tiya Rayne, because I was that was my first Tiya Rayne book. I wrote young adult under another pen name. So Tiya Rayne was my first uh that first fantasy book was my first time using Tiya Rayne pen name.
Okay, so Tiya Rayne is not your given name, your birth name.
No, Tiya
Okay.
Rayne is I use it. It's part of my oldest daughter's name and my middle daughter's name. It is all contribution to my daughter, my girls.
Okay, all right. Well, this is it's interesting just how you evolved as a writer and that you continue to self-publish. You didn't give up after you were with a publisher, and you didn't give up when you got rejected because all of the authors that I know, now I never submitted a book for a book deal. Um, all of my books are self-published, and I haven't pursued. I never got a rejection letter because I never pursued it. And I don't know if I'm not good at rejection, although I'm not saying other people are, but I'm really not good at rejection. So if I know that rejection could be potentially a possibility, like strongly, then that's not a road. And it's not just writing, whatever it is. If
Yeah.
I'm going to be rejected, I don't want to try it. It could be anything, and I know nothing is certain, I'm just not, I'm not good at rejection. So, but I just think it's amazing that the way you started off and you were able to build it. It's just admirable the way you were able to do it. And we talked to so many authors on this show who have similar stories, but nobody has the same story. That's the amazing part about doing this
Yeah.
show. We get to meet authors at all levels, some just getting started, some have 100 books, and everybody's story is different. But the passion for writing is what
Yeah.
is the common thread. And so that's really, really great what you're doing. So do you have what you're doing next? Like, do you have another series in mind that you're working on now?
Yes. So I have a paranormal series that I'm starting now. I'm kind of on break now. I usually take the holidays off because all my kids are home, and I usually take the holidays off. So in January I start feet hitting the ground straight forward trying to get it done with my second book to my Dark Woods, my paranormal series. And the funny thing is, I I hate writing series because it's a continuation. Like I don't like to be in one world too long, but I always end up writing series. It's kind of weird, but yeah, I have a paranormal series I'm working on next. Enzo is the second book in the Dark World Wood series.
Okay. Now, when you say you don't like being in the same world too long, that's, that's interesting because that's showing that you put yourself in the world
Mm,
that you're writing about. And you really do.
yes.
Like, I don't write a lot of fiction. I just have two novels. But when I was writing them, I had to put myself in the place, especially of the main character and, and the villain, because you have to
You
uh,
do, yeah.
have to know where it's going, and it has to make sense, or it at least has to uh, be intriguing enough to make the person keep reading.
Yes.
So I get it. I understand. Well, show your five covers again. I really like them. Show them one more time before we go, and then
Yeah.
also tell people how they can connect with you on social media. So,
Yeah. Hawk
church series from Tiya.
twins,
Okay, Hawk Twins, and then
Priest,
Beast. Okay,
and then Beast
Beast one
one,
and Beast.
one, and two.
Okay, and people can get your books, basically
You can
everywhere. The normal
you can
place.
find my books all on Amazon. I'm all Tiya Rayne on Amazon. You can follow me on all my social medias. I'm at Tiya Rayne on on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Okay, all right. And so, well, thanks for being a guest on the show. We really
Thank you
appreciate
for having
meeting
me.
you and learning about your work. I'm gonna check out. I'm gonna start with Hawk, and
You
then
definitely want to start with Hawk.
okay, so and I keep going from there.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, take care.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, now I had mentioned that we were going to have well, I didn't mention we're going to have a book to give away. But before that, I wanted to check to see if Rhonda has messaged me that she um, may or may, if she's going to be more delayed than, um, because if she is going to be more delayed, then I like to know that before the end of the show. It just so I know if she's going to be on or not. It's helpful. She hasn't said she's going to be more delayed. So, okay, so we're going to be giving away a book tonight, and then I'm going to bring on the next guest. But I'm going to do the trivia, and then I'm going to do this next interview, and you can answer it in the comments during the interview if you like. So, this person, let me get back on the page for the show. This person, Sierra London, was on the show several weeks ago, and her book is called, let's see, Fake It Till You Make It. This is a copy of her book that we're going to be giving away tonight. And the trivia for this book is Sierra, the author, lives in Virginia, and she has a cat. She's a tabby cat. And what is her cat's name? The author's cat's name. And so I picked that as a trivia because if you all watch the show, you know that we have a cat, and I've always loved cats, even when I was a little girl. And we've had a family cat for many years. This is not the first cat. The cat we have now is a male, and we had a female cat before that we had for 15 years or 16 years, and then she passed away, so that was traumatic. But anyway, I thought the cat's name would be a good. So the author's cat's name, what is it? And if you answer, we'll send you a copy of the book. So our next guest is Dwight Treadwell Sr., and he is going to be talking with us tonight about a health topic. He has a book called, what's his book called? I think it's called The Sugar. Let's make sure I have it. Okay. Overcoming and thriving from the devastating effects of the sugar. And it's about diabetes. And he's going to talk to us about his journey as a diabetic and some things that he learned along the way. And as soon as he comes on screen, we will talk with him about his book. So he was on for a little while in terms of being in the waiting area. I don't know if he left and hasn't come back, but we let's see. I'll tell you a little bit about him. Oh, there he is. Okay. He has a 20-year journey in his war or battle against the dreaded disease of diabetes. So his book is about that. And we welcome him to Black Authors Matter TV. And if you could unmute your mic so we can see
Am
you.
I?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
All right. I'm seen and heard now.
Okay, okay. Well, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, do you have a copy of your book with you?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Well, if you could show it to us, then
Well,
we can.
let me see.
You can just put it in front. If you put it in front of the camera, we'll be able to see it.
Okay.
Hold it up because it's too low.
Hold it up.
Okay, and you have actual sugar on the front of your book.
That I do.
Okay. All right. Now,
Sugar is that silent thing that leads us to a lot of unpleasant things. Sweet going in, sour coming out.
well, it's a very common disease in the African American community,
Yes, it is.
and a lot of it is related to obesity for many people, but not always. But it is my grandmother had it.
Yes.
She used to take the insulin shots. I remember as a little girl, my uncle used to give her the shots. And when we would go
Right.
visit her in the country, she lived in a rural area.
Well, that's where it all starts. We all come from the rural.
Yeah, yeah.
My
You
grandparents had a farm in the rural. We had
okay,
sugar cane on it.
what part of the country?
At Birmingham.
Oh, okay, Birmingham. Mine were in North Carolina.
Yeah.
The tobacco was the crop in
Okay.
North Carolina. They picked tobacco. So it was, chew tobacco for chewing, for cigarettes, for snuff. Tobacco was it. So,
The kids, we choose sugar cane.
oh, okay. Now, I didn't know that they grow sugar cane in Birmingham. They grow it in Birmingham.
Yes, ma'am.
I see. I always associated that with Louisiana or
Yeah.
even Hawaii,
Yeah.
but I didn't know they did sugar cane. I thought they did cotton. They
They
did they
did
grow
cotton, sugar cane, anything that would grow. You know,
Oh,
when you're a small farmer, you whatever you put in the ground come up that would sell. That's what you put in the ground.
well, that's true. That is true.
You just cut your stalk, wash it off if you have any water, and start chewing.
Okay. Well, I hadn't heard about it north of Louisiana. That's why I always, in my mind, associated with Louisiana.
Right.
But now you have had a 20-year journey with diabetes.
Yeah, when I was 45 years of age, I started feeling funny. But before that time, I was a college football player. I went to the Cowboys for a hot cup of coffee. I was a college All American. I was a high school All American. And we just dealt, a lot of our rehydration was sugar laced and Gatorade and sodas. So it's silent until it becomes a problem. In the earlier days when we were younger, no one knew how to catch, as we said down south, the sugar. A lot of times they would whisper it that granddad or big mama has and we as children, we didn't know what that meant. So, but usually, if you're not a childhood diabetic from birth or from early age, at the onset of diabetes, they say pre-diabetes is around between 40 and 45. So
Okay.
mine started at 45.
Okay.
And
And
we
you
start, with pills, and the doctor gives you, a script of if you do this and if you do that, and if you stay strict to a diet, you can come off of these pills. Well, we found that to be untrue, as I write in the earlier chapters of this book. Once you get it in your hands, a lot of people have gotten it. The book came out 1st of November. And so far, we've sold 1,000 copies or so. It just now went to Amazon and a lot of other platforms. So we're looking for big things. But you can work out, you can eat right. Sometimes you're just predisposed to certain ailments. It could be cancer, it could be diabetes, it could be any malady that you can come up with. It could be just hereditary. Mine was hereditary, of like you said, your grandparents had it, my grandparents had it. But diabetes is real slick. It doesn't affect every generation. You say, well, my
hmm
sister didn't have it. My brother didn't have it. Nobody in my family but my uncle. He had it. You hear all of these stories when you're conversating with people about diabetes. And I say it doesn't get everybody. Some people, they get gout or they get lupus or they get cancer or they get thyroid or they get something. But they don't all, even in the same household, no one in my household has diabetes besides me and my dad of a family of 7 people.
Okay. That's true.
Just a
And
little background.
they're doing a lot of the genetic science now where they can kind of somewhat predict what you have based on your genes, your genetic pool. They're doing it seems like they did it more with cancer so far than they have with diabetes. Although,
Yeah, I don't believe they truly understand diabetes to this day.
yeah, they it's still and it's affecting more children, seems like now.
Yeah, it is. You know, when do you have children?
Yes, I have one daughter.
Okay, so you have one children.
One birth
But
child. I have stepchildren, but
yeah. So when you grow up in today's society, everybody wants to fit in. So they join, soccer, little league t-ball, little league basketball. And then after the game, they don't care whether they win or lose. You know what they're interested in after the game? A
eating.
sugary drink
Okay.
or a piece of candy or cake or something like that. So
Mm.
sugar, and then down south, as we call it, how do you get indoctrinated to sugar? Well, vegetables themselves are not a tasty food group. So in our lineage, they would add sugar to the green beans, sugar to just about everything that didn't taste good. Okra, sugar. They add a little sugar to greens, anything to make the vegetable go down. Kids are an ornery bunch. They won't eat what you put in front of them unless it's sweet. So that's how we get sugar indoctrinated is from an early age of adding sugar, and just about everything there is has a little bit of sugar in it.
Yeah, that's true. And it's leading to more illnesses and health challenges today. I tell people when I was growing up, we had cornflakes with no sweet, the
Okay.
regular cornflakes or Cheerios with nothing sweet on it. Those were the two cereals we ate for breakfast. And so we didn't eat a lot. Now my mother did put sugar in vegetables, but you know what I did? I did something different. I put honey in vegetables. And
Okay.
so honey is a healthier substitute.
Yes,
So,
it is.
so I don't put sugar in veg. I stopped doing that about 20 years ago because I cook. I'm a very good cook actually. But I put honey. You can use honey. I use honey in my coffee.
Yeah.
So I don't when I drink coffee, I
I
use
yeah, I use
honey.
honey in tea. I don't
Honey works in coffee. This is what you have to do. If you
yeah,
want to make the switch, put it in your coffee for 3 days
I'll
instead of
have to
sugar.
try it.
3 days, if you could drink a cup of coffee a day, and I drink 1 cup a day, but for 3 days, use honey and don't pour the whole thing in, but put a good amount. And
Right.
for 3 days straight. And after that, your taste buds will adjust.
I will try that first thing tomorrow.
Yeah, try that.
Yeah, when I was in high
I've been,
school,
I've
I
been
took
doing
off.
that for at least
I
5 years.
yeah,
Honey,
I did a lot of cooking when I was in high school, learning how to cook. In the rural I grew up in inner city Detroit. You had to, because the parents both worked at the factories, you had to know how to cook yourself,
okay,
other than just a hot dog.
okay, okay. I didn't learn to cook till I was an adult. Because
Yeah,
my mother didn't like anybody in the kitchen. I'm the same way. She didn't want us in the kitchen when she was cooking because she said we got in the way. So she didn't let us cook. And I learned, but I observed enough to when I went away to college, I could call her and ask her, okay, how do I cook this? And she would tell me, and I picked it up really easily. But we didn't cook because my mama didn't want us in the kitchen when she was cooking because she said, and I don't like people in there when I guess I adopted the same thing. Now tell us about, I want to hear about, you said when you were in your 40s,
yeah.
you
When
started to feel some type of way. So tell people some of the symptoms you were having.
so when you start going to the restroom to pee quite frequently, and you
Okay. We're having some
whole
internet
lot of
connectivity
liquids.
issues.
And drink a cup of coffee. Yeah, you could uh, drink a cup of coffee before going to work, and you'd have to stop at a restaurant or a gas station and just let it go. I mean, let it go. And you
Oh,
say, "Well, I only drunk half a cup of coffee."
okay.
Then, when you get to work, the first thing you do when you get there, you have to urinate again. And you say, maybe I drank some beer or something last night, or something I didn't do right. But days went by, and in a week, you try to lose weight or eat right. But in a week, when you lose 10 pounds and it's mostly fluid, and you say, well, something is not right.
So
And
you
then
have
you
frequent
start reading.
urination. You have
Mhm.
frequent urination,
Yeah.
and you lost weight.
And you lose weight,
Okay.
and your sugar cravings are way up. I mean, way up. So I would eat a lot of fruit or something to replace the fluids besides just drinking, sodas or water. But that didn't curb the sweet tooth. And then finally, you couldn't go 5 minutes. I couldn't go 5 minutes without urinating. So I said, it's time to go to the doctor. Well, the wife. Then she said, it's
And so
time to go to the
normally
doctor.
that's what happens. And there is science that says that studies show that married men live longer. And that's because their wives make them go to the doctor. And I believe that. I know that's to be the case because my husband, if I didn't insist he go or take him, he would just say, "Oh, I'm fine."
Yeah,
And
most
when
men,
they
we
get
always
there,
say we're
find
fine.
out it's something they need. My husband ended up needing a pacemaker.
Ah,
His blood, his rate, his heart rate was in the 40s, and so on the with the pacemaker, it's fine. But if I hadn't been insisting,
men, we avoid
oh,
the hospital like the plague.
yeah,
It's
and
an old barber. It's an old barbershop joke. When you sit around the barbershop and all the barbers know everything, right? They're experts in
I've
just
never
about
been to the
everything there is. They say
barbershop.
if you go to the hospital, the doctors are going to find something wrong with you. So, men, we avoid going to the hospital. One guy may go to the hospital, they find something wrong with him, he bring it back to the barbershop, and then the barber say, "I told you so." So when I
But
got
see that,
diagnosed with diabetes, I went to the barbershop, and they were right. They found something.
okay, but see that's putting the cart before the horse
I
because you
know.
go to the
That's just an
hospital
anecdotal joke.
because you're having a problem.
Yeah.
So the problem wasn't caused by the hospital. You
No, it
went
was not.
because you had a problem. But I hear that's so I didn't know they said that in the barbershop because I never been in one.
Uh-huh.
But
You
I
go
do
to the
hear
barbershop
about them,
and
and
they and
y'all have y'all's own form of gossiping, just like women do.
yes, we do. So no man wants to go to the hospital because the doctors at the barbershop, they know best.
Okay. Well, then after you went to the doctor, so when did you first get diagnosed? How many? It was 20 years ago, more or less.
It was I'm 70 now, so it was 45, 25 years ago.
Okay. And
And the doctor says, follow this routine. I did. I worked out like an Olympian. I was eating right, running, walking, working out, swimming, doing all of the exercises, eating nothing but chicken and fish. So I said, hey, doc, when I went to my 6 week appointment, he said, come back in 6 weeks. When I went back to my 6 week appointment, I said, hey, I've got this diabetes whip. So I was waiting on him to finish all of his tests, and he came back in the room, and I said, he gonna give me the good news. I'm not a diabetic anymore. That was not the case, sadly. I said, Doc, how I'm doing? He said, you're doing okay. I said, well, I'm gonna be off of these pills. He said, not so fast. He said, We really don't want to take you off of them. We want to leave you on them for another 6 to 8 months. I said, what? So I was floored then, but I knew diabetes couldn't be. Well, I wasn't really sure about diabetes, but I knew a illness as serious as diabetes couldn't be beat in just 6 weeks. But I was, hopeful. So as time went on, the pills became less and less effective. I guess, the human body evolves. So the body got used to the effects of the pills. And then I was recommended for injections. Now, the injections were, 18 units in the morning plus another shot. This was the fast acting insulin. They have a fast acting, then they have a all day. So you take 2 shots in the morning, but you take a fast acting shot 3 times a day. So, about 10, 12 years, all of that was going good. Then the body evolved one more time. So, as it evolved, I needed more and more. They would change doses, or the pharmaceutical companies would change the strength. I don't know what happened, but I was requiring more and more. Then, about 60, I developed a blister, as I call it. Well, they call it an ulcer on the bottom of my foot. So we went in and they say, okay, yeah, it's a diabetic ulcer. And I said, okay. I said, I've been eating right, doing everything right, working out, swimming, being active. So they said, okay, we're going to do a little bit of surgery on it, stay off of it. So, they call it offloading. So you offload and the stitches or the little incisions that they had made it healed up. So they started recommending the proper footwear. And that was all good for about another 5 years till I got right around 65. I was always been active. I was a professional softball player. Uh, so we were still playing ball on the weekend and maybe a couple of days during the week. Uh, so the ankle started hurting. I said, why is my ankle hurting if what they did was on the bottom of the foot? Well, the ankle began to swell some. So I went back in, and the first incision or the little ulcer had grown larger. And I write in the book, you could be going along just as fine. Everything feels good as a diabetic, and you wake up one day and there's some leakage on the bed uh, from the foot. So I went in and they say, hey, the reason your ankle is swelling because there's an infection in your foot. I say, is it in the ankle? No, it's in the toe. In the toe? Well, why is my ankle swelling? So they went in, and the podiatrist first decided, well, let's just take a little snip from the top of the toe. And I said, from the top of the toe. So they did that and cut the top of the toe next to the big toe. And then they sewed it up and went another. And this is a series of 6 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, all of that. Everything is going fine, proper shoes, proper inserts, proper everything. And time goes on, and the ankle swells again, and go in a year later, and they said, well, uh, we need to go a little deeper on that toe because studies show that you still have some infection left. I thought you got that the first time. Well, anyway, when you start cutting on the human body, there really is no end until you get all of it. Even with cancer, when you start cutting and snipping, you're just hoping that they get it all. a lot of times they get 80% or 90%, but then it starts to regrow. That's just the evolution of the human body. So years go by of a snip here, snip there. So they had snipped three toes by that time and hoping that would get it. And, being in the hospital 5, 6 months, that was their next remedy for offloading. Well, if we can keep you off your foot and just let it heal in the hospital, I guess I had good insurance. Just let it heal here in the hospital. We can get you back up on your feet. So, yeah, it healed up because if you're not walking on the blood, it's not moving around, and the pressure on the bottom of your foot is in that what we call the arch or just above the arch. And the only thing left on that left foot was a big toe and a foot. So I said, a little awkward, but they would prescribe what they call a shoe filler. They put a piece of material in the front of the shoe that would hook on to the big toe and fit where all the other toes would be. So that was okay. I know the story's getting a little gory for some, but that is the life of diabetics.
Well,
But
I
anyway,
think it's instructive. It's instructive for people who may not know how the disease progresses
yeah,
because
it goes and
the
comes, and
progression.
but once you start cutting, uh, the body is used to all of its toes, all of its fingers, all of whatever you have. But for the diabetic foot, that is the main problem because you have to be upright and vertical. For months I was in a wheelchair, then progressed to a walker, then to a cane. Just trying to keep weight off of the left foot. Uh, then you go along and you go along and you wake up and there's leakage coming from the big toe. It's like, oh well. So you go back to the doctor after this. Now we're in the third or fourth year after they started cutting, and one doctor was saying it's just better to snip the whole foot, to just take the whole foot off and start getting ready for a prosthetic. I said, I've been going through this now 7 years. Let's just do that. So a lot of people said, no, I don't want to lose my leg. I don't want to lose my toe. I don't want to lose my foot. Well, for me, I had lost them all. So it was just going to be easier uh, to just do a lower leg amputation from the knee down. And since I had that done, yeah, that is painful. But there are doctors and therapists who can work with you and teach you how to bear pain. Now, one thing about uh, healing, you have to have a pain tolerance. One good thing about me or guys like me was that when you played football, we had to wear knee braces, we had to have our ankles wrapped. So we were always used to a snug foot. So them just strapping on a prosthetic foot was like getting ready for a game. But it was a little painful. You had to learn how to walk with it. You had to learn how to bear the pain where the leg used to be. So that took a year and a half. And now, like I say in the book, I run, I play softball, I swim. There is a prosthetic that allows you to do that. You may see runners in the Olympics running with two prosthetics. I just have one, and they have a really flexible foot on it. So the prosthetic leg is stronger than the other leg. So, and I still work 5 days a week. My main profession is I'm a roofing salesperson, not a roofer, but a
Okay.
roofing sales manager.
Okay.
And I still play uh, old man softball. One good thing about me, I can just hit and go
What?
sit
Well,
down.
you don't run. You don't run to the bases.
No,
Is
they
that
have a lot of
what
people that do
it is?
that.
Okay, I was joking. Okay, all right.
Yeah, when I first had the operation, I would hit, then somebody else would run from first to home. But after I had started getting used to that prosthetic, I could hit home runs and hit the ball hard. And they said it wasn't fair that all I had to do was hit. So they stopped letting somebody run for me. They said, you
Okay.
got to at least get to first base. So I
Okay.
had to slowly jog down to first base. Then somebody would take over. But in the earlier days, I just stand there at home plate, swing, and then if the person on the other side of the plate, they would run the first. Then everybody said that was unfair. I said, I'm just still the same guy with one leg, though. But that's life as we know it. But
Mhm.
for anybody that has suffered an ailment, most doctors tell you you need to get up on your feet again. You need to move
Yeah.
again. So
Yeah.
that's why, I'm in the pool 2-3 days a week. I work out at least 2 days a week. Whatever the body can stand. The body is built for movement. It's not
Yes,
to
it
just sit in
is.
a wheelchair or lay on that couch.
It
And
is.
if you don't have the proper circulation, then the body will be like a car. It'll just clog up and back up and quit running.
Yep. And if you don't move those muscles and joints and bones, they stiffen up on you,
Yes,
especially
that they do.
as you get older. You have
Just
to
like
move.
water in a tank that's not moving, or oil in a car, if it's not moving, it'll just stiffen up.
Yeah, and the human body is 75% water.
Yes, ma'am. A lot of
So
people don't realize that.
yeah. So you have to keep moving. Uh otherwise it's just like anything. If you don't use your muscles, they atrophy. They get stiff, and then that's when things kick in, arthritis and all kinds of things kick in.
Yeah, and a lot of people are afraid, or they don't. They're afraid of, well, one is pain, and the other one is the stigma of being a diabetic. Well, everybody whispers in the corners and in the shadows, you're going to get your foot cut off. Maybe, but that's not the end of life. This is going to happen to you. Maybe, but that's not the end of life. There are people walking around now with diabetes that refuse to get treatment because they don't want people to know that they're diabetic. And, is
Well,
that wise?
yeah.
No,
But
doesn't
no,
make any sense.
it's not wise at all, because you know, diabetes can kill a person. Like, you can go into a coma if your insulin levels are high or low or whatever.
Yeah, too low, under 30, and
Yeah.
above 400.
So, but I'm glad that you shared the symptoms that you were experiencing,
Yeah,
because
and your vision. I knew something was wrong. Like I said, I was a professional softball player, and I wasn't seeing the ball as clearly as I used to see it. I couldn't look up and then look down. Your vision would start to shake a little bit. My vision would start to shake a little bit. So I
okay.
said, something definitely wrong when I can't see the ball. And I've been doing this a long time.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, we had
that's
someone on the show a month or so ago, maybe not even that long ago, 3 weeks, that had diabetes too, and his vision was
right.
when he first realized he had it. He just thought he needed glasses, and then he went and found out he had diabetes.
Yep. Yeah. Your eyes will let you know.
Yeah, so that's something. Now, we're a little bit over time, but our final guest hasn't logged on. And I am going to uh, text her just to make sure she didn't forget or whatever. And if she's unable to come on, then we can continue our conversation if you
All
don't mind.
right.
Is it too
No, I
late?
have plenty of time. The
Okay. Is it okay? I just wanted to make sure. So I normally I have a co-host, and would told me she was going to be on. So this is something she would normally do, and so I am a one-person show right
Yeah. So
now.
how do you get a hold of me? We shortened we have a long title called Overcoming and Thriving from the Devastating Effects of the Sugar, but we shortened it down to the sugar. You can go on Amazon, you can go to Walmart, you can go to Book Baby, you can go to Thrift Books, Indigo Chapters, Majors and Quab, Booksellers, Instagram, and I'm listed on all of those. All you really have to do is type in the sugar, but you may have to just type in Dwight Treadwell, then the sugar, and I'll pull up on everything. One really really good thing that's happening. We're being picked up. I'm being picked up by TBN, which is Trinity Broadcasting Network, and they have a publishing group called Triology Publishing. Yeah, TBN is the Dan Crouch and all of those guys. So they'll be publishing the book now. Uh, how do you get started in publishing or writing a book? First thing you got to do is get started. You have to have an idea or a story to tell or just information to provide. But the very first thing you have to do is get started. Is it easy? No, writing a book is not easy. The other book I have is called The American Dream Door to Door Millionaires, where me and my son we co-wrote a book about how we started in the roofing business and how we got customers. Everybody is busy. Nobody has time to do anything. So if you have an ideal that will alleviate pain from someone having to do a necessary job, then that's your niche to get going. All you have to do is just think it through and no, you're not going to know everything about your subject on day one, but things will come to you. But TBN, the sugar, is filled with a lot of anecdotes about trusting in God, keeping the faith, holding on, don't give up, don't just sit there and say, I'm just going to live out my days. There are things because most people, even if they have diabetes or they have good talent, in today's society, a lot of people work from home. Well, I can't get to work,
Yeah,
so
it's
work from
very
home.
common. It's very common.
Yeah. So don't let people discourage you. Uh, Life is not a straight line. Life is filled with ups and downs, and it's filled with curves. Your goal to success or whatever the purpose your purpose is in this life is not a straight line. And nobody who's ever been successful or will ever be successful unless they hit the lottery or they born with a silver spoon in their mouth, is going to be a straight line. So we're just here to encourage those who may suffer, not just from diabetes, from a car wreck or anything that could prohibit your progress from where you thought you were going to the path you're on now and the path you got to take to get back to where you're going. So we just like to encourage people. Don't be down and out. Yeah, you're sad, but who isn't sad? Okay.
Well, you you've given us some food for thought for sure. I did want to let the audience know that our final guest, Yona the Soulmates, has is having a health challenge. And so that's
Oh,
why she's not logging on. So we will reschedule her for a future date and wish her well. I'm going to communicate with her after the show and find out, make sure she's okay. But
yeah. I will be in Houston this year to
okay,
the National Black
book
uh,
festival. You mean
Book
next year?
Festival.
Next year.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just in Dallas last week. There was a diabetic foot conference, uh,
Oh,
and I just left there. And just to let you know, diabetes is not just for black folk. It's
Oh,
for white
absolutely
folk
not. No, it's
and
not.
it's
No,
for
absolutely not.
professional folk. There were doctors at the conference that had diabetes, and then their parents had diabetes, and the parents wouldn't listen to the child. It's like, well, I need to give this to my mom and dad. And you may have some people like that won't listen to you, but they may listen to me or have something, excuse me, in written form that they can read that tells them that they can identify themselves with. But yeah,
Mhm.
diabetes is not a black illness.
No, no, definitely not. It. I think statistically, it's more common among Black people, like disproportionately, but
Yeah.
it's not, definitely not exclusive to us. My daughter's boyfriend has diabetes, and he's 28 years old.
Okay.
So I'm not sure how long he's had it. I think she told me at one time, but I can't recall. But he does have to take insulin shots.
Yeah.
Um, so he has type 1. He's had it since childhood. I think it's type 1, she said.
Yeah, if it's childhood diabetes.
Okay. So it's it's common. I'm not sure if it runs in his family or not. I hadn't heard all the stories on that front. So
And women who give birth are at risk of having diabetes.
yes,
During
and
what,
I
the
remember
gestation?
that when I was pregnant with my daughter, they really monitor your insulin levels. I never had any challenges with it, but they monitor that and they monitor blood pressure. And
Yeah.
some people get diabetes during pregnancy,
Yes, they do.
and it clears up after they give birth. They don't have it after they have their child. It's just during, having bringing humans into the world does a number on our bodies.
Yes, it
We go
does.
through all kinds of stuff. Your body is expanding and doing all because you have to be feeding your baby while it's growing. I mean, on the inside, and so your body changes. I know all women say the ones I've talked to, every single woman I've ever talked to that gave birth to at least one child, their shoe size grew.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard that,
Well, let
but
me tell you
at least
about
by half a
mine.
size, by half a size. So I was a size 7 before I had my daughter. And after that, I'm 7.5. This just I
Well,
don't know. I don't know why it happens. I don't know what happens to your feet. I don't know why
yeah.
that happens.
Well, I wore size 13. As my swelling and all of that happened in my left leg, that foot went to a size, it swelled up to a size 15. But I was
Mhm.
still wearing a 13 on my right leg.
Okay.
But I had to buy a 15 and a 13 whenever I
Oh,
got
you had
shoes.
to buy 2 pairs of shoes.
Yeah. After the amputation, uh, my right leg went to a 15, and now I could use the shoes from the left leg with my new right leg 15s. It was just a
Wow.
strange thing. It never
Okay.
went down to back to a 13.
Oh boy. Wow. Okay. Now you said something, and I don't know if I misheard it. Did you say you played for the Dallas Cowboys for a little while?
I was there for a cup of coffee, which means a 2-week tryout.
Oh, okay, 2-week trial.
Yeah.
Cause I was a lifelong Cowboy fan for a while.
Yeah, I was there when OJ,
Yeah,
well,
who was
I went to San
there?
Francisco. Then I tried out for the Cowboys. But I went to San Francisco when OJ his last year.
Okay, now I wasn't watching football. I was a kid then.
See?
But
Okay.
because who was the quarterback? So Roger Staubach was the quarterback.
More than likely
Cowboy
then,
more than
yeah.
likely.
But
Because
when us free agents, when you're a free agent and you go out for the Cowboys, they don't let you nowhere near the veterans. You
oh,
just out there
okay,
with 100 or 200 uh, guys trying to make it, beating up
oh,
on each other.
okay.
Then they bring the veterans in after all the blood and guts was spilled. They ain't gonna let you hurt
they,
the
they
main
want to
guy.
keep those franchise players
No.
healthy, because that's the way they make their money. But my brothers, they adopted the Cowboys when the league was new, when the team was new. When
Hmm.
we were kids, and so we lived in Virginia, but they went for the Dallas team, and
Yeah.
that's the only team I knew anything about because my brothers had, Roger Staubach's posters
Yeah.
and Tony Dorsett
Yep.
when he played. Okay, they had the posters on their wall, and so I didn't know about any other team. So that was the team I adopted, and I was a lifelong Cowboy fan until I quit them when they re-signed Tony Romo. I was through
Yeah.
because I knew they weren't going back anywhere with him, and so I got tired of losing and watching the playoffs without the team being in the playoffs, and so
Well, they got rid of Emmett. Emmett retired, and
yeah, that was the team. Well,
yeah,
before, okay, in the later time, not the first team with Starbuck, because I wasn't
yeah,
watching football then, but the team with Aikman and Emmitt
yeah.
Smith,
Troy
that team, that was this awesome team.
and we'd have never lost that game last night with that team.
Yeah, that's true. And what's the guy's name with the raspy voice that still commentates? Golly, I can't think of
The
it.
wide receiver.
Yeah, wide receiver.
Uh,
Alvin, is what's his name? Alvin?
I can't call it
Irvin,
right now.
Michael Irvin.
Michael Irvin.
Yeah, yeah, that was the team right there. That was the team, and they haven't, um, they haven't had a team since. And so then I adopted Seattle's team, and that was when I adopted them. It was before they went to the Super Bowl the first time. They were like an up and coming team when Russell had first got there.
Right.
That they had a really awesome team then. Then they went down, but I'm still sticking with them for now. And when I watch the
Seattle.
Cowboys, yeah, because now they're at the top of their division. They,
Yeah.
I don't know if that means anything, but
We still holding out hope for the Cowboys. Maybe
yeah,
next year.
they're not gonna do anything with Dak. I
Nah.
don't know if they were gonna do anything with Dak, but
Maybe they'll
without
get.
Dak, definitely not gonna
Maybe
do
we'll get Deion's son, Shador, and Travis Hunter.
it. Okay, well, maybe so. Hope springs eternal.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate
But
people who stick with the team through thick and thin, no matter what.
I
I,
stuck with
and
my
I know how
hometown
many,
team.
yeah, some people are hometown team. I'm not because
My
we
hometown team is the
didn't have a
Detroit
team.
Lions. Yeah, the Detroit is coming.
They're doing good
Is
this year.
coming along again. And a
Mhm.
shout out to all my buddies they from Detroit, Detroit Western High School Cowboys, International Cowboys. They giving me the thumbs up. Shout out to them and my Knoxville College alumni and from Knoxville, Tennessee. All of my family in Birmingham and Detroit. I have people some everywhere. But we have enjoyed it. As long as you'll have me, we'll keep going.
Oh, yeah. Well, the show, we have about 11 minutes left on the show, so we can keep
I
going.
got 20 minutes left.
Minutes.
I got 20
Okay.
minutes left in me.
In you, okay. Okay. But just Detroit is doing well, and they were in now. Detroit fans, they were long suffering because they were not doing anything for a
Yeah, the
long
night
time.
train lane and
It was
back
a
in those
long
days.
time. They had the all through the 2090. When did they have a team?
It was back when I was a youngster in the 70s,
Okay, so yeah, I know they hadn't had one.
60s and 70s.
Okay, yeah, they hadn't had one since I was watching, and I've been watching since the 80s, the mid 80s. I started watching football, and I really learned the sport, and I became an avid fan.
So my mother is asking me on another line, is this program recorded because she couldn't get on it?
Okay, all right. Here's the thing: this show is live. It's also live streamed on Facebook.
Uh-huh.
So once the show is over, you can go on a Facebook page and watch the whole show. You can fast forward to just this interview or watch the
Okay.
whole show. So all of our shows are archived on the video section of our Facebook page. But you will also get a copy of your interview by itself about
Okay.
about a week after the show. We send it to you so
All
that you
right.
can
So
post it on your page.
she'll be happy. She been at 93. She been trying to figure out how to work the Facebook Live.
Well, all you have to do is go to our page and it's there. If she goes to Facebook and types in National Black Book Festival, and she can do this after,
Yeah.
okay, after the show, she can go to Facebook in the search for National Black Book Festival. It'll take you to our page where this is live streamed, and then she can scroll down a little bit and she'll see it. It'll be a video there that's on our Facebook page because it stays there. And we don't delete any of our shows.
Right.
All of our show we've had the show for 4.5 years, and every single show is on our Facebook page under video archived under videos. So we keep them all, and we've had over 700 guests on this show in 4.5 years. You're probably 712 or something like that. We just recently celebrated our 700th guest. Not 700th interview, because we've had some people on the show more than once. Our
Okay.
700th guest. So we've talked to a lot of people, and they're not all authors, but mostly authors.
Yeah. Well, once my wife gets home and she calls my mother, and my wife will lead her to how to get to it. But
Yeah,
mom
it's
is
not.
just
It's not.
scrambling right now. I can't get it. I can't get it. Well, at
Yeah,
93, we didn't
it's
expect you to get it.
that's true. But some people younger than that don't. Some people aren't on social media, so they don't really know how it works. And some people are on all kinds of other platforms. TikTok is popular now.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, YouTube. Our show is not live on YouTube, but all of our shows are uploaded to YouTube after the fact. So we have
Okay.
YouTube. I'm not on TikTok as far as doing anything. It's just too much. To me, it's just too much. It's too much.
Right.
But it's popular for, especially among younger people. It's popular.
Yeah,
So
people are.
if you had some advice to give people about, if they think they may have diabetes or they have a family member that has it, like supporting them,
Yeah.
what advice? How can people have a
Make
loved
sure
one
you
with
see
diabetes?
your doctor. You have a general practitioner, and you have an endocrinologist. Uh, the endocrinologist is the person that checks all of your body functions. Endocrinologist is more knowledgeable than just a general practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
Endocrinologist handles uh, lupus. Endocrinologist handles diabetes. Endocrinologist handles everything about your pancreas. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where diabetes stems from, the pancreas.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people die of pancreatic cancer. It could have been diabetes, or it could have went to cancer. So that's who I would tell you first to search out and to have regular visits with, is the endocrinologist. And then he'll set you up on all of the different drugs and whatever that you need to take to keep yourself healthy. But exercise, 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 exercise. Some people have never been great at exercising. You don't have to be great at it, but you just have to be consistent. Do a little something every day, not hours and hours and hours and hours. Even today, my 93-year-old mother, she walks on a treadmill just to stay active, just to make sure nothing clogs up. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
women live longer than men. I wonder why. But, men, they just get to watching that TV, and they just said, I'll get it tomorrow. And a lot of people believe that being busy is the same thing as exercise, which I tried to tell my dad is not. Busy is not the same as exercise.
Mm-hmm.
You
Well,
know,
you need to be
busy
active.
painting, busy working on the car, busy cutting the grass, busy. Dad, that's not the same as exercise.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm going to do. And Dad is no longer with us.
Yeah. Well, my brother had pancreatic cancer, and
Mm-hmm.
he got misdiagnosed as with diabetes.
Mm.
That's what happens a lot of times with pancreatic cancer. It gets misdiagnosed first,
Right.
and then by the time they know what it actually is, it's a stage 4. So, but he had similar symptoms to what you described. He, was having frequent urination, but he also lost weight. He lost 20 pounds,
Yeah.
unexpectedly. And that's what prompted him to go to the doctor. But then they said he had diabetes. And so then he started having pain. A few months after that, he started having pain in his abdomen. And then they found a tumor. And, pancreatic cancer is very aggressive.
Yes. Anything in the pancreas.
Yeah, it's very aggressive.
But hopefully America and the world will wean themselves off of just straight sugar.
There are a
And,
lot of substitutes that are healthy. Not Splenda. No, that's not healthy. But you have agave, you have honey, you have some healthy substitutes,
yes.
that you can that are not going to give you diabetes or aggravate diabetes if you already have it. So
Yeah. And diabetes, as I read in the book, is not something you can catch. Is something that is within the family bloodline most of the time. Diabetes is not coming for a weekend stay. When it comes, it's bringing 2, 3, 4 suitcases. It's going to be there a while. So you got to learn how to work with it.
yeah, it's hard to get rid of once you're diagnosed with it.
Yeah.
Some people have overcome it, but it's
it's
not
very hard.
easy. It's very difficult to overcome. And normally, like most of the people that I know that did, like with diet.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's blood pressure that I was talking about earlier.
It's blood pressure.
But
Diet.
they went vegan and not vegetarian, vegan. The people I know that overcame hypertension with diet, they went vegan. And that's difficult. You have to be really disciplined and not really like tasty food. I shouldn't say it.
Well,
Well,
you have
you
to
have to
like the taste
really
of
you have to
Q-level.
mentally change. You have to really set your mind to it. That's
Yeah.
the only way I could see doing it. But
And the mind is the strongest muscle in the body.
it
So you
is.
have to work on the mind.
It is. So show us a copy of your book cover again.
Sugar.
And tell people how they can get the book. You said it's available on
Amazon.
Amazon. Okay, and it's
Amazon is at Walmart. Let me read.
okay.
Yeah, Walmart, Book Baby, Google Books, Thrift Books, Indigo Chapters, uh, Instagram, and they'll all lead you to the sugar.
Okay. Well, Dwight, it's been very informative, and thank you for extending your interview because our final guest had the health challenge. So we're going to be in prayer for her to be recovering from her challenge. And also prayers to you and your family as you continue to do well with your challenge with diabetes.
All right. I thank you very much. And I look forward to being in Houston in, what is it, August?
It's October.
October, yeah.
October 23rd to the 25th.
All right. Look for me in Houston, Texas. I got some buddies in Houston. I meant to come last year. Was it last year or the year before and something happened?
Okay. Yeah.
But
All
I
right.
am
Well, here's the
signed up.
invite
And
coming.
you see me, I'm sporting my Black
Cap.
Authors
Yeah. Your cap and your
gear.
shirt.
Yeah.
Your cap and your shirt.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
All
well,
righty.
you have a great evening.
You too.
Okay,
Bye now.
bye-bye. All right, well, that's our show for this week. We are going to be back with another episode of Black Authors Matter TV. And I also wanted to let you all know that next week will be our last show for the year because the December 24th is Christmas Eve. That's a Tuesday. And December 31st is New Year's Eve, also a Tuesday. So next week will be our last show of the year. We want to see you back with us next week. And we will hope you have a great week this week. I'm Gwen Richardson signing off, and we'll see you next Tuesday on Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you for tuning in, and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.